Hello, everyone. We have Coach Joe from Keystone College. Coach Joe, do you want to introduce yourself a bit?
Sure. My name's Joe Schneck. I'm the men's soccer coach at Keystone College here in right near Scranton, Pennsylvania. We're a small private Division III school. I've been the head coach here for 7 years, and I'm getting ready to go into my 8th year here this fall, hopefully. And I came down. I was the assistant coach at Cornell University in Ithaca, New York, for 7 seasons before I came here. And before my time at Cornell, I was the graduate assistant at the College of New Jersey, which is a state school in New Jersey where I went to school. So I played there for 4 years, and then I returned, did a graduate assistantship for 2 years under the coach that I played for, and then moved on there to Cornell. So I'm excited to be with you today, Yaf, and appreciate you having me on.
All right, thanks, Joe. And so, Joe, would have a few series of questions. Like I said, I know a lot of folks would like to know, community would love to know, kind of a little bit about you and, how you go about even some of your coaching program and things like that. So, how would you describe your coaching style?
Yeah, I think our coaching style flows from who we are, right, as people. So your unique personality, your dispositions, your strengths, your weaknesses, your influences of past coaches, and the people that you're coaching, right? So I think all those things combined make up who you are as a coach. The simple idea of my kind of coaching philosophy in a way is that you're tasked with bringing a bunch of people from a lot of different backgrounds and a lot of different experiences and getting them all on the same page. So essentially pulling in the same direction. And when I say that, that includes the coaching staff, it includes managers, it includes the players. And I think the most successful teams are able to kind of come together under a common goal and pull in the same direction. And so, how do you do that? I think if I've done anything in my time at Keystone, it's making sure that the guys that are in the program and the people that are within the program know that they each have a role to play, and everyone's role doesn't look exactly like the guy next to them's role.
Right.
But to try and get everyone pulling in the same direction and know that you may like your role or you may not like your role, but whatever your role is, you better do it to the best of your ability. And that has to do with our manager filming the games as best as he possibly can. It has to do with the coaches preparing the team as best they can. And it has to do with the players obviously putting forth maximum effort for what they do as well. And if you don't like your role, then it's your job to try and work as hard as you possibly can to change your role. And at the same time, being a great teammate and supporting the team cause, because I think obviously the team supersedes everything else. So, I mean, in terms of me personally, like my style, I would describe it as probably a democratic style, like a player's coach. Not to the point where you're, friends, you would say per se with the players you're coaching, but that you have an open door policy, you're approachable, you're realistic, you're coaching people, right? I mean, they are soccer players, but they're people first. And so I think if you understand that and have that kind of empathy mindset in terms of trying to understand where they're coming from, I think it allows you to be a little bit more of a successful coach than not. But certainly taking input from a lot of different people and putting it all together to put the best product on the field.
That's awesome. And so, Coach, what is the sort of the most rewarding part of being a coach for you?
Yeah, I think for anyone who's in the relationship business, which coaches and teachers and pretty much everyone is in, it's the relationships that you develop with your players and the bonds that you share kind of as a team collectively, but then the individual relationships, right? So a couple moments for me that stick out through any year, my favorite days of the year, the end of year banquet, where you get to hear your guys stand up and talk, particularly the seniors, about what the program has meant to them, what their teammates have meant to them, how their teammates have helped them get through tough times and be there in the great moments as well. So I think that's always an awesome day for me and rewarding to hear that I was a part of kind of bringing all these guys together. If I did nothing else, I brought them all together in a sense. And then they formed those relationships. They supported each other and they figured out how to be a good team. And so I think that's a rewarding part. The funny thing is, and you know this because you coach as well, you don't get the view from 20,000 feet as a coach or a teacher very often, right?
Right.
It at times can be, I don't want to say a thankless job, but there's a lot of sacrifice involved.
Right.
And so the moments of the year where you get that view from above in terms of the work that you're doing, you always cherish those, and those mean a lot to you. And so, end of year banquets, that happens. Another one for me is graduation day. I sit there, and unfortunately that should have been, 2 weeks ago for us. Unfortunately, they don't get to do that this year in a traditional graduation setting. But that's one of the best days of the year for me. I sit there like a proud dad, watching those guys walk across the stage. And it sounds weird to say, but it's true. You sit there and you're just so proud that those guys did what they came to your school to do. And for a lot of them, they're the first person in their family to get a college degree for the guys that I coach. Some not so, but some families, yes. And that is just an amazing moment for me to see the smiles on their faces and the accomplishment that they finally did it. And then another day that I really like during the year is the alumni game. And that's when we bring, obviously former players back, some that I coach, some that I didn't coach, and they come back and they're a part of the program and they get to interact with the current guys, but even more so with themselves, to watch former teammates reconnect and to talk about the stories and all the fun times that they had. That's amazing, because as a coach, like I said, the relationships are paramount. And if you're in it for any other reason than that, it's I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a little bit shallow.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I definitely know what you mean. And coach, so how important obviously does academics play into the program in terms of recruiting aspect? Is it enough to be very talented, or where does academics play in? Because I know that's always a question that I think some misconceptions on some folks, especially at a younger age, just thinking that they're good, they should be able to play college regardless. But can you shed some light on that for me?
Yeah, it's obviously, I mean, when you're at an academic institution, which all of us college coaches are, it's not enough just to be talented, right? I mean, it's I can't understate, or I should say overstate, the importance of being of taking care of your studies. And I'll just give you an example why. Because I mean, in terms of as a student athlete who's going through the recruiting process, they're trying to look for their schools. And the bottom line is that the better your grades are, the more options you have. And the more options you have, the more kind of power you have in that process, right, in terms of choosing and comparing financial aid packages and so on. So if you're not doing what you need to do in the classroom, then it's severely hurting your college process. I tell kids all the time, the better grades you have in high school, the cheaper college is going to be, the more options you're going to have. Right. Because, academic scholarships are tied to how you performed in high school academically. And if you haven't done what you're supposed to do, then college is going to be less affordable than if you had. And so, and at the most fundamental level, at the Division 1 and 2 levels, there's obviously an NCAA eligibility center. It used to be called the clearinghouse. And so if you haven't done what you're supposed to do academically, then you may not even qualify for 2 of the 3 levels at the NCAA level, right? Here at the Division 3 level, we don't have the eligibility center, so there's a little more flexibility there. But even at our level, if you haven't done what you're supposed to do academically, can you be admitted? And if you are admitted, will you get an academic scholarship, which ties back to the affordability factor, right? So certainly your academics are as big of a part of the process in terms of finding the right fit as anything else.
Awesome. And so, and I appreciate it. And so, coach, in terms of, measures that you look for, like, how do you know that you're sort of doing an effective job? What are things that you look for to kind of get that feedback?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, because obviously there's many ways to measure job effectiveness in athletics and even in college athletics, and I guess it depends on who you're asking, right? I think it varies wildly from
Right.
A to Z. The obvious one and the most public one, and the one that you can find out in 5 seconds about someone, is of course the win-loss record, right? I think that's more important for people outside the program than it is for people inside the program, to be honest, that are in it day to day. Other measurements that are easy to quantify: team GPA, the number of recruits that you're getting in your class, postseason accolades, graduation rate, which is an important one. But I don't think, for me, I don't think any of those are the most important ones, or the truest measure of effectiveness, you would say, in terms of what I'm looking for from my teams. And I think, and so put another way, I think you could have all those things and do really well in all those things. But if you don't have these 2 that I highly value, then I don't think you're being effective as a coach. And the first one that I think is really important, particularly at the Division 3 level, is, are the kids enjoying their experience? Right? Like, do they get to the end of their 4 years or their 3 years or however much time they spent with the program and say, man, that was awesome. Like,
Right.
that was really, that was an incredibly life-changing experience for me, right? And some it may change more than others, depending on how they came into the program and how much they bought into the program and so on. But if they're not getting to the end of their experience and going, man, that was enjoyable, then what are we doing, right? If we're not getting paid millions of dollars to do this, it should be a part of the process that's or a part of their experience that's really enjoyable. And then number two, are the people under your responsibility? So are these guys growing, right? Are they growing? Is there evidence of growth both on and off the field, right? Are they getting more mature? Are they getting more responsible? Are they going home? I say this at the end of the year a lot of times, like, are they going home to their parents each semester, each year, a little bit more responsible, a little bit more mature? And I think that for me is as important as anything else. And sometimes it takes guys a little bit longer than others. But no matter where they came into the program, is there growth, right? Because at the end of the day, for all of us, the ball will stop bouncing, in a competitive sense. And so then they need to go out and to be able to make a life in a way and make good decisions and treat people well and have healthy relationships. And that's a hope for all those guys. And if they're doing that, then man, I don't know what else you could ask for as a coach, right?
Yep. No, definitely. And so, obviously you guys said you're pretty much wrapped up on your season now, obviously with the whole situation now, but leading into the upcoming off season, what does your sort of off season program look like for players that are either, I guess maybe it's the same for folks that are currently on the team and then maybe potential recruits, but just what does your off season program look like?
Yeah, I mean, if we just took it from starting from now, like we had our team meeting on Sunday night where we had a Zoom meeting with all the guys, so the new guys and the returning guys, so they're all pretty much in the same boat.
Good.
I'll just focus on the summer off season right now, although there is when the season ends in the fall, there is obviously some things that are happening until we get going again in the spring. But for the summer, I mean, really what we do is we send the guys home with a workout packet. Usually we print it and mail it to them. Or the returners take it home with them. Obviously, with the situation this year, we just had to send it via PDF to them. And so what the expectation is that they do the program and bring themselves back to campus in August in this order. So they need to come healthy, come fit, come soccer sharp in that order, right? If you're not healthy, you can't participate, you can't help the team. If you're not fit, we can't get you fit in 12 days from the time you come to the time that we start our first game, right? And if you're not soccer sharp, then clearly you're going to be behind everyone else, right? And so the program is designed to supplement the training that they're doing on the soccer field, and then hopefully a game a week, game or two a week, depending on what you're doing in terms of a team. Now, this summer may be a little bit tough for those guys to do that, but the program is built to be 6 days a week. It's 3 days of running. It's 3 days of lifting right now. When I say lifting, we're doing body weight exercises because a lot of people don't have access to a gym because of the virus. And so, basically the running will include timed miles or testing themselves for our fitness test that we'll conduct when they get back to campus in August. So getting a sense of where they are compared to the goal. And then every 2 weeks, they'll test themselves and see where they are. So that's 1 day a week. Wednesdays are a interval day. So either sprints on a soccer field or fartlek training, which is a run where you're running, sprinting, jogging continuously, right? And then Fridays are speed, agility, fast footwork, ladder exercises, right? So it's kind of 3 different types of running to prepare them for the demands of a college soccer season.
Wow.
So the goal, kind of the overarching goal for us during the season, there's no real heavy lifting going on, of course, because during the season it's injury prevention, strength maintenance. That's the goals, right? So, you're doing abs, you're doing cores, maybe you're getting in for a quick lift on a Sunday, in a recovery session type thing, but there's not a lot of strength gains or explosiveness being gained because you have to recover and be fresh for the next game. The spring and then the summer, these are the times of the year where we ask the guys to make gains in terms of their explosiveness, their strength, and you don't have the pressures of a game once or twice a week a lot of times.
Awesome. And so, Coach, what are some of the qualities you look for in a potential recruit that coming into the program? What are things that you look for? And
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, there's so many that we have to look for. I'll try to narrow it down, but I'll give you an example of some of the things that we look for specifically, because I think every coach is going to answer that just a little bit differently. You know, obviously the soccer qualities that you look for in a recruit have to match how you see the game and how you want your team to play, right? And then the other traits that you need to match are what kind of a program, what kind of a team dynamic that you want to develop as well, right? And so from a soccer sense, obviously everyone knows the ways that you judge a soccer player. You got, soccer IQ, so the tactical understanding of a player. Have to be able to make good decisions on the field, have to be able to, understand where the ball needs to go next, and to make really good decisions that make sense within the game. And I think particularly for central players, that's an important part of the game. And then speed, athleticism, we pride that in our program. We like to have teams that are quick and athletic, and that can, never be dominated physically, you would say, in a game. And I think the reason for that is that when you break soccer down into its most basic components, it's a series of foot races, 5 and 10 yard foot races, really all over the field as an athletic competition, right? Aside from the tactical part of the game. And so we value those traits in a player, speed and athleticism, particularly in the wide areas, right? In terms of outside backs, wingers, they need to be able to get behind. They need to be able to track down players. And so those are important to us when we watch. Technical, obviously, they need to be able to deal with the ball. They need to have mastered the ball to the point where the ball is not it's not a stumbling block to them. They're not tripping over it, of course, and it's not putting their head down because they don't have the ball sorted out. We need players that can play heads up soccer, right? And then the last one, obviously, the mentality part of the game, the psychological part. Are they competitive? Is their competitiveness healthy? Does it drive their team on, or does it detract from their team? Does it cause their team to lose focus because they're over competitive, right? One of the big things that we look for when we go watch games is how do they deal with setbacks? How do they deal when a goal gets scored on them? I'll give you a quick example. I was watching the kid this year, and I liked him. I was debating whether we were going to offer him a roster spot or not. He was one of those guys, and I watched the team get scored on, and he was the most positive guy on the field. Clapping, got the ball, encouraging his teammates, basically hitting the reset button. And I thought to myself, how couldn't I want that guy on my team? How wouldn't that be a great thing to have a guy in the program like that? That when things go south, he's going to be a guy that's positive and trying to bring the groom up, and you're just going, yeah, that's important, right? And so body language is huge for us. I read a story the other day. I think I saw it on Twitter or whatever. Steve Nash, right, the NBA basketball player, he averaged 239 high fives a game. Right. If you remember, I don't watch a lot of basketball, but I've seen him play, and the positivity and the enthusiasm that he brought to the game was incredible. Right. And I think all of us as coaches want those types of guys on your team that are into it. Right. Mm-hmm. And so, those are some of the things, but some of the more important things I think that maybe don't get talked about a lot or enough are, their character. Like when we talk to coaches about them, like, are they a good teammate? Are there any red flags that I need to know about? What are their parents like? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, were there any issues with their parents throughout the time? That's important for us. Leadership abilities. Are they the captain of the team? Are they the captain of their high school team, their club team? We love to bring guys on the team that have experience being a captain, because it means that guys are looking to you. It usually means they're pretty consistent. They're showing up every day. They're able to be relied upon. And as coaches, we all want those types of players, right? Versatility. That's a big one. Can a guy play in a couple different spots? If he can, that's great for a team, at least in my eyes, because we got cover in a couple different spots. If, maybe he's not the best left back we have, but he can also play as a winger, or, we can slide him in as a center back. And so that gives you flexibility as a coach to be able to put him in different spots. And then when you bring guys onto campus, what are they like, right? Are they humble? Are they polite? Are they holding the door for their mom or for the person behind them? I love watching, when families come onto campus. I had a family come on campus this past fall, and I loved watching. There were a couple brothers and sisters there, and I loved watching how they interacted. I was blown away at how polite he was. He let his sister talk, his younger sister talk, and just the dynamic between them was really healthy. You could tell, and I thought that's a guy who's going to be a great teammate. And so those are some of the things that you're looking at as a coach and trying to judge when you eventually get to meet people. Now, in another setting, let's say an ID clinic, which obviously you're familiar with it with our place, or a college showcase, and this is great advice for younger players. You never know who's watching. It blows my mind to think that these kids are coming to this showcase with their team. Their parents have paid a lot of money to be on this team, right? And they clearly know they're being evaluated, at least at the U17, U18, U19 levels, right, by college coaches who are there. And it's the old adage that you are who you are in a sense, and you can't hide who you are, right? Because
Yeah.
athletic events bring emotions out of us, right? But it always shocks me that there could be a row of 25 coaches on a sideline and a kid will still talk back to his coach, or get substituted out and go sulk at the end of the bench, right? Or have a real negative reaction body language wise to something that happens on the field, because we're watching those things. And so I think it's important to know that those are things that you're being judged on as much as how good your touch is, or how quick you are, or what kind of decisions you're making. And so I think the moral of the story is that we are evaluating the whole person, and you never know who's watching, including, I'll add, your social media accounts if the recruiting process gets to that point, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So it's a good reminder for young players for sure.
No, I appreciate that. And so, Coach Joe, thanks a lot for spending the time to talk to us today. You had some great insights on a lot of different questions that we had. And, like I said, good luck next season, and have a great summer.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
All right, thanks.